Activation code required. Access granted. Warning. Evacuation sequence activated.
We're back. Welcome to the bunker.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of S4. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight we've got me, your host, Cole Egleitner, my wife, Kayla, my son, John, Rick Persley, and Nikki Jacobs joining us tonight. And I do want to start the show by saying it's with a heavy heart that S-4 Paranormal says goodbye to Eric Cooper, your original host.
He's just leaving the show. He didn't die.
Yeah, no, he's been doing this for 7 years. If he just died, Kayla, we'd still have him on.
Yeah. Right. We even have a medium.
Well, it just sounded like you were like, hey,
he felt that at this point in time he needed to concentrate on others, so we hope he does well in future endeavors and wish him the best of luck. So, with that, we are going to be talking tonight about Western European hauntings and why the fuck they are so prevalent.
It's because so many people died there. It's just like a short span.
It's just a bunch of Europe.
How many people died in Egypt?
Well, that's different. It's ghost stone.
Ghost stone.
But okay.
Right.
The thing is, looking through the history, most of the hauntings aren't wartime hauntings. Like, okay, for example, like the Tower of London is haunted. You would think it'd be by soldiers that died on the Tower of London during either the raids of World War II or during the many wars that happened there when London was becoming a city.
Well,
right.
But it's the White Lady. What's her actual name? Lady Jane Grey.
Well, that's probably a bit different because when you're in like war and all that, when you die, it's more of like an honorable death. So I feel like you would not want to stick around that much, other than like royals all being mad and pissy when they die or get beheaded.
Yeah, well, okay, so like...
I guess that kind of makes sense.
She was queen for 9 hours.
Yeah, she would be...
No, 9 days, sorry, 9 days.
Wouldn't you be pretty pissed if you were only queen for 9 days and then you're like, oh, off?
The British Council decreed that Catholic Mary was England's true ruler. and she was executed for it.
Yeah, wouldn't you be?
Yeah, I'd be kind of pissed. I'd probably stick around too and be like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, haunt that place.
But, like, it's just how many of these are hauntings that just, like, one of them is a dead father. He haunts Woodchester Mansion in Gloucestershire.
Yeah.
His name is Lord Ducey, and he he just sat there and in a seat in his house.
Yeah. It was a comfy seat. Didn't want to get up.
He didn't die in the house.
Yeah, he wanted to go.
He just went back there. Like,
yeah, he wanted to sit
that's
down.
That's the thing. Like, a lot of these, it's not wartime. They didn't die in war.
Well, it's probably more emotional, or like they're connected to that. Other than,
well, that part of the world has a lot of standing stones and a lot of like what are those lines?
Ley lines.
Ley lines, supposedly. I mean, there's a lot more that go through there than most places. And it's an old city. Like, it's been around forever and through a lot.
It's not that old. Considering.
Well,
like,
in the grand schemes of, like, if you're looking at
China,
Ice
India,
Age and everything.
Well, no, China, India, Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yes, but even though... Mm-hmm. But if you look at that... Sorry. If you look at that, like, China has a crap ton of hauntings, too.
No, they don't. They trap them all in boxes and sell them to tourists. Like, you know I'm right, Nikki.
Oh, this is interesting. Oh, shit.
That's the thing. If you look at these guys, okay, you start talking about ley lines.
Yeah.
How many ley lines go under Egypt?
well, that's different.
But Egypt
How is
isn't
that different?
populated. Not in the same way.
Because they come back as mummies?
No, it's like a ghost scenario. Like the show The Ghost, they're all stuck in the pyramid. They can't leave that area, so they're all just partying inside. That's why they're not allowed to go inside.
You guys need to see the shit-eating grin he has on his face right now.
No, but maybe it does have something to do with the fact that, like...
They built a giant tomb.
Egypt is sand. Do you know? No. I'm just...
That was some Bill and Ted fucking knowledge there. Like, holy shit.
But
No, but...
Mom, you know Egypt isn't just sand, right?
And they
I
are
realize
excellent
that.
to each other.
Dude, I realize that. But I mean, maybe it has something to do with the makeup of rocks. Because if you, like, there's so many stories about the power of, like, the standing stones and Stonehenge and everything else. Like, the way that it makes people feel and everything else. Like, maybe there's something to do with all of the... There has to be a reason that they built them all over there. Like...
Well,
Sorry.
I don't know that John's entirely off the party part off, but the fact that, I mean, they were supposed to be. That was it. They ascended to wherever their to my understanding, which my Egyptology is about. As strong as pretty much everything about these paranormal subjects, but it was designed to be the end. That
Yes.
was, yeah,
But I have a rebuttal to that.
What?
you have, of course you did.
What was required for it to be the end, Kayla?
Okay, so, alright, me and Cole actually, we got into this little discussion the other night. Because it pisses me off to no end, okay? Because we sit here and we talk about religion and we talk about religious freedoms and all of this kind of crap, right? Well, the ancient Egyptians believed that they had to stay there in their tomb and that they lived their afterlife through the stuff that was around them and everything else. And then all these archaeologists go in and they pull them out of their tomb and they put them on display in a museum somewhere. And I'm like, you just ruined that person's afterlife.
Yeah.
Like, that person's version of what afterlife and what their religion was.
Oh, that would
you
be so
just
weird.
completely ripped them out of it.
Well, it actually made me laugh because what we were watching was Unearthed, and they had an episode where they did King Tut's tomb, and so they were pulling out the chariots at that time. So all I'm imagining is him racing in his chariot in heaven, type thing, and all of a sudden the chariot just disappears. He's like, "What the fuck?"
Right,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, we don't disturb certain grave sites for certain reasons. Because of their religion, because of their this, because of their thought processes. So what made it okay for us to go into Egypt, grab every mummy that we can find, and just put them on display in a freaking museum somewhere?
I have a reason why.
Go ahead.
Shiny gold, me want. This guy looks cool when he's dead, so me put him on display.
Thank you, Neanderthal John.
Well, and also, I mean, Indiana Jones.
Yellow.
Hello?
Yeah,
So
That was weird.
Yeah, Rick, you were cutting out like crazy.
That out.
yeah,
oh, sorry.
Okay.
Whoops. No, Indiana Jones in the movies is a grave robber.
Right.
yes.
Well,
So-
he's an artifact finder.
Like,
No, okay. Yeah.
I believe the real word is action hero.
Yeah.
It needs to be in a museum. It belongs in a museum.
Yes.
Well, but that was the prevalent theory back then. It was either for fame and fortune.
He's also
or the money
really
you would
into
get out of a
whips.
tomb. Or, yeah.
Like his
Or you
ancestors.
wind up with you were putting it into museums in the Western world. They didn't care
Yeah.
who it was. We did it to how many Native American graves have been plundered over the years?
Oh, a
Or things
ton.
put over the top of them. You know, they put a strip mall over the top. I mean,
I
it's-
checked. Mine
it's not
hasn't
like-
been touched yet.
What?
Mine hasn't been touched yet. I checked.
Your
yeah.
grave?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Okay.
Good to know.
No one wants my
So-
shit.
Yeah.
Well,
this whole don't disturb stuff became a relatively new thing in the, like, I guess the 60s, maybe 70s, where they were actively staying away from, like, okay, we need to do this carefully and we don't need to remove things like bodies, so we try
Yeah.
not to do that.
yeah.
But it's relatively new. It's not something that just, I mean, it's been within the last 50 years that they really started trying to be more culturally aware and not steal
Right.
stuff from people directly.
And I get it. It was just funny because we were listening to this archaeologist tell us all about what they believed in the afterlife. And then they're like, and we're going to remove this
Yeah,
person
they're carrying
and put
things
them
out.
And I'm like, well, you just said, though, what the hell are you doing to that poor guy?
You got to remember, too, the British were the ones that were running Egypt back then,
So maybe all the Egyptians moved there and started haunting them, and that's why there's so many more hauntings.
Yeah. Because some old king was like, "What the hell? Why is this Egyptian over here now?"
What was that, Nikki?
I said the desert wasn't truly desert back in the
No, it was like a
some of it
giant
some of
oasis.
it was desert. Yeah, it had it had very much an oasis.
Yeah, the Sahara Desert.
Well,
used to
if
be
you
an
look
ocean.
at yeah, like they were saying that there's a whole bunch of waterware on like the Sphinx and everything.
Yes.
And when they were doing the Unearth, they like showed what it would have looked like when they had all the trade routes set up and when there was water in the area and everything else.
Do me a favor, John. Look up the word oasis. Real quick.
Okay, maybe not Oasis,
No,
but I mean...
Hold on. There is a point to this.
Actually, they did it very much. They created their own oasis areas via
Brazilian
using
like weird irrigation systems.
Yeah, it's an irrigation system. You had tunnels with water that were above ground that were watering all the plants that were out in the sun, crisping.
Right?
Yeah, but it makes sense since the whole Sahara Desert used to be a giant ocean.
So, the meaning of oasis is something that provides refuge, relief, or pleasant contrast. How fucking pleasant could it be with how many crocodiles and bird people they had? Fuck that shit!
Hey.
I'm out!
No, they were one with the animals.
Yeah, when the animal ate them.
No, it was like their pet. Have you ever seen a Floridan person?
A Floridan person.
Yeah, a
Floridan person?
A Floridian. I don't know.
Oh, a Florida person.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They kind of just like...
a Floridian.
Yeah. They just kind of keep them as pets, so...
Wow, okay.
How the hell are you in college?
I'm not. Right now I'm still in high school. I'm learning.
They do a lot of things as pets in Florida.
Yeah.
Oh
my God.
To our Florida listeners, it's just a joke. I promise.
Yeah.
I swear to God, that's
I
where
don't
the
know if
Ninja
it's
Turtles
a joke
came
people in
from.
Florida because I've never been there, so...
Like,
actually... could have some weird-ass pets.
Actually, there was a news article recently about a Florida man getting caught with a lion in his backyard. So...
Okay, that makes sense. Well, he wanted to test the theory. Which one would survive, the lion or the crocodile? I guess they're alligators in Florida.
Yeah.
You have a real Indiana Jones leather whip in your house?
Yes, no, it's not in the house, it's out in storage. But yes, I do actually have a leather whip that I got for my 13th birthday. Because I wanted to be Indiana Jones. So, and
did you hear how excited Nikki just got?
I killed myself a couple times with it, so yeah. Probably should be one of the hauntings, so yeah.
Holy cosplay.
Do you know how to use a blue whip? They're really fun.
I got it.
They're really great for accuracy.
Yeah. No, nobody's ever going to confuse me to be the next Indiana Jones. Put it that way.
Jack the Whipper. Isn't that the guy?
Or whatever.
No.
Jacques
the Whipper.
Jacques
the Whipper.
Oh, Jacques the Whipper. Yes.
Yes.
Not it's Z. Jacques Z Whipper.
Jacques the Whipper.
Future cotton farm.
We actually we saw him at the Renaissance Fair
last year.
Oh yeah,
doing his thing.
I love him.
I tried to request a song, but I couldn't. I'm so sad.
I don't know if it was a last thing that Paula put it out there that I actually own it, because now Cole's gonna be like, "Hey, can we get out of storage?" No.
Whoa! Hey, you wait till I'm at work.
I have my own stuff to play with. Don't even.
Whoa!
Use it on the kids.
Gross. What? I do not want to be a part of this at all. I don't even want to hear about this. One of my wedding gifts. This is how I go into therapy.
That's good when you can gross out your own kid.
Friend.
I know that sound. My son used to have that sound when he talked the same thing. And he's in his 30s and he's like, "Nope, Mom, I'm done. Nope, I don't want to hear it anymore." I don't hear that very often.
For our wedding, one of my best friends gave me a lariat.
A lariat?
Yeah.
The little thing?
A lasso.
Oh, it's a lasso. Okay. I was thinking, I don't know, of like marionette, like the puppets.
So a lasso is only 4.5 feet long. Mm-hmm. So it creates one that you can actually jump through.
Oh, okay.
A lariat is made for roping.
I would have liked to see you jump through a lasso.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
He can't jump.
But the kids know I can rope.
I like to jump.
What?
Oh,
Yeah.
when you guys used to
When you
run
guys were
away as
little,
little kids,
Fran,
he would just grab you with the rope and pull you back.
I had you run away from me as fast as you can, and then I grabbed you around the leg with it.
Oh.
Fran, it was hilarious.
Probably. But I bet I could outrun. I can outrun that now.
Huh?
I bet I can outrun that now.
If a cow can't outrun it, you can't. I'm not
Well,
saying you're fat.
Well, you
I'm
outran
saying
it,
the
so.
cows are faster than you.
But cows don't know how to zigzag,
Yeah.
or at least not intentionally zigzag.
They know how to shake.
Yeah. They know how to fall over when they push them.
I don't know. I've seen a bull zigzag a couple of times.
Yeah. But I think I can outrun that.
Running right at you. It's zigging for zig.
Yeah.
So,
Right at those people at the poker table. Poof.
yeah. Oh, that's so much fun. I saw that when I was a kid. Again, they used to have prison rodeos. So
That's just what I was thinking.
Yeah, you guys have seen Urban Cowboy, right?
Yeah.
No.
Well, that was a real thing that went on at the state prison in Huntsville up until probably just a few years after that ended. When, then it was declared, it was too dangerous for the inmates and, they weren't getting enough significant time knocked off their sentences to perform. Most of them were doing it just because it was an excuse to get out of being in prison. So,
Right.
For a day. And I think they were allowed to visit their families, but yeah, so that was a real thing. But they did have the poker too, so and that was the one part where it's like, yeah, that might be a little bit of stretching it in terms of the human rights and everything.
Okay, so see, only on S4 will you go from talking about hauntings in Europe to lassos and prison. Right.
Prison rodeos just sound so wrong.
Well, yeah, it does kind of sound a little Brokeback. I'm just saying.
There's always going to be someone riding somebody.
Who's the bull in this situation?
Oh, Lord.
I'm sorry, the only thing that popped into my head was mess with the bull, get the horns, and seeing some dude shanking somebody. I just can't.
This is what I imagine. The Discord. That's what I imagine in a prison rodeo.
No, that's how the guy got in prison. Okay.
Okay, so I've got highlighted medieval European ghosts, hauntings of the area, Ireland, Scotland, Britain, history of those areas, starting with smells with the hauntings.
Well, that could just be...
Last week.
Your haunted smells?
There is something about smell that I saw too.
Oh yeah, hauntings have a smell.
Oh, for sure.
No, but this one was particular.
Whenever I looked up European haunting smells, I always just got to the forum where it said how horrible the castle smelled.
So, Lady Jean Grey. Jean Grey is
an X-Men.
I was just gonna say,
same person. She leaves behind a perfume that's so strong that it's been known to make tower guards ill.
Damn.
Yeah. Like, that would kind of suck. You're just sitting there doing your job, and all of a sudden, like, you just walked into Bath and Body Works.
Or you walked into a middle school locker room. The Axe.
Yeah.
Oh no, we didn't have that as much when I was in middle school.
Oh no,
yeah.
we did have girls did the Aquanet back in my day, and
well, yeah, like I said, perfume, and I was wondering how many middle school female locker rooms John has been in.
I've been into none.
You have to go sit in the classroom with them. They could be right in front of you, and it's like, woo.
Okay, it's not just middle school and high school. There are certain people still that are like in their 60s that I'm like, holy crap! Did you just bathe in that?
Yeah. I have one classmate like that. It's bad.
What?
Yeah,
tell
we used to
Hunter
have
to calm
classes
down.
like that.
Yeah, please.
when I was seven.
On the buzz, it's bad.
Yeah.
He just bathes in Axe and body spray.
No, I can't okay, and you know what actually bugs me more than the perfume? And I think it's because my nose has been sensitized to perfume because I'm a chick throughout the years. But is like the Axe body spray
Yep, that'll make you sick real fast.
is just horrible. It gives me such a bad headache and it makes me like want to vomit.
It's because they use butane to get it out of the can.
Right?
They use butane, the stuff that's in lighter fluid.
Okay.
And
just for note, we need to throw out the Axe body spray before we move on to property with them. So yeah, I might have some.
It's fine in small doses, but I swear to God, people drowned themselves in it.
yeah, they overdo it because they don't recognize how strong it really is.
Well, I learned that lesson right off the bat. It's the first time I'd ever bought any of this stuff, and I needed something. Like I had gone to wash clothes in my one overshirt that I wear, that's my big flannel. That needed to be washed, and so I was like, I spray it real quick, and so I put it on just a little. It wasn't even that long a burst. It was maybe a second, but just down the arm, and my God, it was like, woo! You can get a contact high from this.
Oh yeah.
When the boys first got theirs, when they first became teenagers, we got them the Christmas packs of Axe body spray. And they went into their bedroom at their grandparents' house and had a war.
Oh yeah, it was so hilarious.
All three balls were empty.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes, they did.
It was so gross.
For months, my mom's house smelled like 3 different flavors of Axe body spray mixed together. It was horrible.
Hold it together, even blended together.
I remember that. I got so lucky, and I sprayed it right into Hunter's mouth. He drank like half the bottle. It was hilarious. I got so much of that in my eyes. They stung for like weeks.
Then you guys got mad at me because I made you stay in there.
Oh yeah, that place was horrible.
I was like, you get your asses back in there. Screw this shit.
Yeah, that place smells. Even today, you can still smell it.
You can still smell the Axe in the air.
But yeah, Nikki, you're right. Like with a lot of the hauntings in England and Scotland, a lot of the old castles, as you walk through them, you will smell the fires. And like and not like the fires of war, like the cooking fires.
Yeah.
Because they'll have the distinct scent of meat with them.
Bacon fat.
Yeah.
Will do that a lot too.
Yeah.
Any kind of rendering of fat whatsoever, even to make tallow candles. Tallow candles. I mean, you're dealing with all different kinds of fat, putting it together just to get the candles made back then.
Yeah, that shit's expensive now.
So,
for
smell it.
A mason jar of that tallow is like $125.
Yeah, no, it's expensive as hell now.
So you've got a lot of those castles have not been truly scrubbed on the inside, and some of that is for posterity because of history. Another aspect of it is if it does get clean, you're cleaning off all of that soot and candle wax that has been burned, because when you burn a candle, excuse me, coming from a former candle maker, and I used to make a lot of candles, when you burn a candle, the paraffin literally hangs in the air on the molecules in the air, and it literally will adhere. That wax, no matter what kind it is, but if it's paraffin, it will adhere to the floor. It'll adhere. Doesn't matter what kind of floor you've got, whether you're dealing with rug carpeting, whether you're dealing with hardwood floors, whether you're dealing with linoleum, those molecules excuse me, will literally adhere to all those surfaces. And so you're going to have that on the walls of castles. You're going to have that, it's going to be everywhere because that's what we used back in the day. So it's like trying to clean wax walls.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and all these people are like, oh, I want to be a princess. It would be so great to live in a Do you know how horrible it would be to live in an old school castle? That thing would stink so bad all the time.
Oh, God.
It would be drafty as hell. So cold. No, thank you.
It would, but it would be so cool.
I'm pretty sure one of the original ones is actually pretty cool to live in.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Buckingham Palace, probably not that bad.
But that's not,
that's
not the same thing.
But still, living in a castle, it's just... Yeah. It would be so cool. You gotta sit at the watchtower, look over.
Updating castles is a big undertaking, a huge multi-million undertaking. And
but once you do it,
many people have been doing it for a long time, and a lot of them, I know when my family was asked by a specific Scottish clan to come together financially as a gigantic, hundreds of thousands of people across the globe come together, and we want to save the castle. And they did. They eventually turned it into a bed and breakfast, and it's still standing. I think it's a hotel now. I don't think it's bed and breakfast anymore, but they did a lot of different things, and wow, I mean, people came together. It was pretty fascinating because that was in the 80s, and that was during a time when everything was done by letter. There was no computer, electronics, email, any of that, none of it. So everything, they had to do the private investigation to find out who were original family members. And it went down many generations, divided out across the entire globe. And it's the only time I've ever come across anything like that, where a family was trying to save the original castle, and they went about it the right way.
Yeah.
Lots of permits. I had no idea there were so many permits and so many things that they couldn't touch because of historical value. And I learned a lot in the process. My family couldn't contribute. I don't even think my aunts and uncles were able to contribute financially. But they were like, even $1 helps, and as far as I know, the family didn't. My part of the family. So, but I find it fascinating how all these castles, people are trying to save them, even the ones that are recently bought in the last 5 years, and huge undertaking. And yeah, I can't even fathom trying to get the smells off the walls from like what we would consider an outhouse that's like 3, 4, 5 stories tall, and it's a shaft, just nothing but
Well, that's when you pour a bunch of concrete down the shaft. And you seal it up like
you can't do that.
Yeah. Don't think that would work.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that kind of crap. Like seriously, you cannot. If there is, so a lot of them, it became popular to actually just put it outside the walls. So a lot of your toilets that were up on the upper levels, they just they built a shaft that went outside of the wall.
Yeah.
And that would be your plumbing.
Wall.
Yeah.
But some of them did actually have shafts that went straight down into the ground below.
Yeah.
Those ones, if those shafts are still standing, you cannot get rid of them.
Well, with what they were doing do your research, folks. I would bet you anything that they contaminated the water supply.
Oh, yeah.
You know, by doing that, I can't even fathom. Right. So, but yeah, it's and that's something that I learned from my great uncle when we were in Tonga, because he was teaching certain villages about why you keep a outhouse away from your well. And I was like, wait a minute, they should already know that. And come to find out, many villages didn't. Which just, for me as a 10, 11-year-old kid, I was floored by that. It was a hell of an education for me. But yeah, you keep those kind of things away from the a water source, because you toxify it. Anyway, but regarding smells and hauntings, a spirit can, just exactly what you were talking about, Cole, a spirit can have a scent to them, whether it's their body odor, whether it's how the person died, such as by fire.
Now, I know that, like, there's been a lot of people that talk about, like, past relatives that'll come back that were, like, heavy smokers or smoked, like, cigars, and they have that kind of a scent to them, too.
Yes. I've got one of my grandfathers used to do a lot of boating. And so he would be working on the engines, or he'd be working mechanical, and so he would have, there were certain clothes that he would wear, and when he really wants to get my attention, that specific grandfather has a very specific scent that I've never been able to have, or anybody has ever been able to replicate, and it's very specific boating, a smell of boating, combination of fishing, combination of mechanical. Boating has a very specific scent to it, if people didn't know. And so if you're up on walking the, oh my god, I can't think of my nautical terms right now, sorry folks, but if you're up on top of the boat and you're walking around,
the poop deck?
Yeah.
Well, just the deck.
Just the deck, yeah, thank you. You'll literally have the smell of the salt air on you from the ocean. If you're in an ocean, you'll have the smell of the resin that was used on the boat itself. There are
you smell like the sea, hardcore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And if you've been mucking around in the engine, then you're gonna smell like an auto mechanic in some ways, but it's a very distinctive smell because the distillates, the petroleum distillates are very different in a car engine versus a engine for a boat, large boat.
There's a lot more hydraulic fluid in there, so you have the hydraulics fluid smell, which is disgusting.
Yeah, it's very specific, so you get all of that. So So when my grandfather shows up, he doesn't typically show up with that scent. He has a specific scent. And when he's like frustrated with me because I've been ignoring certain things, and I shouldn't do that as a psychic medium, but I do periodically because I get frustrated with all the talking at me. That he brings that scent, and I'm like, okay, I got the point. No, I got the point. Let's kick it just back a notch or two. Now that I got your attention, we're going to have a little talk. I'm like, oh, God, Grandpa.
Well, I think scent is one of our memory boosters. Like, when you smell something, it automatically brings you back to a time when you smelt that before. Yep. So I think with it being such a memory catcher, that a lot of spirits will use scent so that you are paying attention to them. So that they can be, in a sense, seen.
Well, now, here's something with that. The fact that when you're in astral, you will have a scent. So whatever you smell like during the time that you are in the process of astral traveling, that is what, if the person that you're visiting doesn't know you're coming and you've got a specific scent to you, they'll recognize the scent if they're aware of it. So yeah, it's something specific. Like I've got another family member who doesn't show up very often, but when they do, I'm like, whoa, okay. The only one that I can correlate that to is this person, and it used to be the energy would hit me first. Now it's their scent, and then the energy. If it's somebody I know, if it's not somebody I know, and like if I'm doing a reading, like a public reading, like there was a time where I was doing a live broadcast on my YouTube show, and this woman was asking about something, and I'm like, I've got a woman standing next to me. This is what I'm seeing, and this is what I'm smelling. Does that relate to anybody? And it was a very specific scent of flowers. And the woman that was in my chat room was saying, that's my grandmother. And I kept getting a name, which I haven't gotten names for a long, long time. And then all of a sudden I start getting names. Well, now I'm getting first and last names, which is about damn time. But, yeah, I mean, you get people coming to present, and it's also in how you, as the medium, as a psychic, receives as well. So scent can be a major part of it. I mean, I've walked into a building where I've smelled like marine utensils, I guess, tools, not utensils, tools, and the building doesn't look anything like that now. It's a restaurant, and I'm like, why am I smelling? Because this is not going to be appetizing. And it's because I found out that at one time, before it was a restaurant, there was this marine supply place. And I'm like, wow, okay, so it doesn't necessarily mean it's haunted. It just means that I'm extremely sensitive to smells, and they didn't get all of the scent off of the walls, because it was brick. Mm-hmm. I'm like, you know what? It happens.
Though you say like this isn't going to be. You say this isn't going to be advertising. I would have to say, speak for yourself, because, friend. So, you know how many times as a mechanic when I was a teenager, I ate a sandwich with 5W30 on my hands, and now when I change the oil in my car, the first thing I want is a fucking sandwich. Yeah, like I can't help it, friend, because when you're working like that and you're working for a small shop, you don't have time to take off and go eat your lunch. So you are doing oil changes while you eat. So oil and shit's gonna get on the sandwich, and that was always my lunch. So friend, yeah. Well, I get hungry off of doing an oil change.
Mm-hmm. It's the reverse is, I guess, or the associates. I think it's not the reverse necessarily, but people that work in fast food. Kayla can probably speak to, that you do the same. You cook the food the same. Eventually, I got sick of pizza, and I only worked at the place for like 3 days. I couldn't stand it because I smelled in my clothes and everything else. It took me a long time to get the pizza, and that was just 3 days of working at a pizza place. It took me almost 6-7 years for McDonald's. I couldn't pass by one without wanting to go like, ah. So,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I've sufficiently ruined fried chicken for a lot of people, just because I constantly smell like fried chicken. Dude, like, I cannot get it out of my skin and off of my clothes. It's horrible.
Yeah.
No, I still love it.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
Have you used vinegar and baking soda?
Oh, dude. It's like 2 years of fried chicken smell that's just developed into me. Like, honestly, it's not going anywhere.
I have a way you can fix it, but you'll just smell really bad for a while. Just bathe in fox urine, and that will overpower any smell.
I think I'd rather smell like fried chicken than fox piss.
How the hell do you have a girlfriend?
It just happens. But
people are into their kinks, Cole. People are into their kinks. And obviously she likes the smell of fox urine.
No. I'm just saying that will overpower any other smell.
Well, yeah, so will skunk. You don't see me sucking on a skunk's ass.
Not as much. Not as much as fox urine, though, because fox urine is the worst smelling thing on the planet that we found so far. Fun fact.
Fox urine is the worst smelling thing on the planet.
I believe so. If my
Where did you get this information?
Right. Local library, actually.
Oh, well. In that case, it must be true.
Yes.
Have you smelled this house? Have you smelled? Yeah.
I disagree with you, John, because she used to use, in order to get rent, she lived in the city at the time, and she was watching a house, and it, nice front, side, and backyards, and all the raccoons chose to shit in that yard. And she was like, well, I'm going to be here for the summer. Let's figure this out. She went to the Seattle City Zoo and got Zoodoo. And Zoodoo is composted elephant dung. And she put it in a seed spreader and spread it across the neighborhood. Didn't appreciate it for about 3 days. But it kept the raccoons and the cats from using the entire yard as a litter box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
John, do you not remember when your grandmother lived in the trailer?
Oh, yeah, I do remember.
And she was on her salad diets?
Yeah.
I don't think there's any smell worse than that.
I don't know how that old woman can produce such horrible, horrible smells.
Yeah, that.
Well,
like, Nikki, I swear, ghosts cried.
Yeah. Her neighbors cried. Anyone that walked past that trailer cried.
Our neighbors cried. We lived in a different town.
I know.
Oh my god, my mom. Yeah, no.
It's that bad.
It is. Okay, you're right, but still.
It still is really horrible. Anytime.
It's like when you drink milk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Okay.
Like, I have to leave the house for like an hour.
Shut up!
That's why I go down to the park so much.
Jay!
It's just horrible.
Dude, cabbage. Nothing worse than stewed cabbage.
I fucking love cabbage. We make Cole makes these like cabbage rolls that are just amazeballs.
I do not make cabbage rolls. I am too fucking lazy to make cabbage rolls.
Okay, you make lazy man's cabbage rolls,
yes.
But like his mom makes these amazing ass cabbage rolls.
She has a lot more patience than I do. Fred.
I don't. Nikki probably. Cole. I guess Cole and Kayla, you guys might remember this too. I know my grandmother and great grandmother's place, and they mothballs. You walk in, and it would be the overpowering smell of mothballs.
I forgot about mothballs. Oh my god, that's horrible.
But it takes me. I think it's been years since I smelled it the last time. Somebody's old person's house I walked into must have been back in Texas. But it's just like, wow. Okay, this reminds me of when I was 7 and sitting in front of the Christmas tree opening presents. It's mothballs.
Like now, it's comforting.
Yeah, I like the smell of mothballs.
Back then, it was like,
it wasn't that great when we were kids, but now it's kind of comforting to smell it because it reminds me of grandparents and everything. All the things I miss.
The only thing that reminds me of grandparents is like butterscotch candies.
When has your grandmother ever given you a
your
butterscotch
grandparents
candy?
Should remind you of your grandparents. Yours are still alive.
Yes, I know, but
shit.
Butterscotch candy also reminds me of that.
I mean, I know you've already claimed half her crap.
Well, but it's so cool. Like, have you seen her fine china? I just want it. And she has this really nice tea set. Like, it's amazing. It has a gold encrusted, and on the tea kettle, it's really good. It's really great.
You cannot. All those have to be hand washed.
Oh yes, I know. I've took
before you give them to one of your cousins.
They won't touch that if I do get that.
Oh my god!
I never said you were getting it.
Oh, something like Antiques Roadshow, haven't you? Right. You've gone through and you've looked it up, and you're like, "Ooh, each one of these plates is worth $100 a piece." Well.
Every time we're at her house for an extended period of time, I catch John in one of her cupboards looking through something.
Yeah, because it's all cool. Like, I found some really cool stuff. Actually, I found when I was going through the whole entire garage, I found Grandma's diploma.
Is that where it was?
Did you give it to her?
Yep.
Okay.
I also found a few of her kids' diplomas. I don't remember who they were.
They were mine.
I know.
I didn't realize they made diplomas when she was in high school.
Yeah. It was hard to carry because it was stone engraved.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody slapped them.
But yeah, I keep on.
Long, I'll be able to.
Next.
Like Gibbs on the CIS, back of the head.
Like, I found some of your old stuff in some of those boxes. Yeah. Star Wars stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of crap in that garage, dude.
Yeah. I found our whole entire baby room. Me and Hunter's. It was pretty cool.
Speaking of ghosts.
Yeah.
So, objects from those time periods can be haunted as well, as we all know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There is a story from King George.
Okay.
That the scepter from his coronation, he had a hard time holding it.
Okay.
Because his was also used by his mother.
Okay.
And it's one that was passed down. Supposedly, when he was holding it at his coronation, it kept trying to leave his hand.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah. Maybe it's because he wasn't the rightful heir.
You're no son of mine!
But,
no, he wasn't, though, because he wasn't the firstborn.
Yeah, so the scepter wouldn't accept him because he wasn't...
Well, it wasn't the scepter.
Well, it was the ancestors that were possessing that, but... because since he wasn't... Because I know, back in that time, that was a huge thing. If you're not the rightful heir, you should never hold the scepter and crown.
Bullshit, I've seen Game of Thrones. Everybody sat in that goddamn chair.
But Game of Thrones is different.
Oh my gosh.
Friend.
And that wasn't actually the chair. If you read the Game of Thrones book, it's completely different. The chair is all wrong.
Okay.
I love how Bob just goes, okay.
Well, okay.
That's great.
Barely put
Oh,
minimal.
goodness.
I want to.
Do you think it's as prevalent as they say, like as they talk about, where like pictures are haunted and?
No, I don't. I think it's more of a tourism thing.
I don't know. I know somebody that has been. Let's see. I did Facebook in 2008 or 2009, and it was 2009. And I met this lady in, I think, 2010, and she's still on my Facebook page. And she does, or has been known to in the past, do churches, go into haunted churches, and she's been across, I was going to say London, that's not what I meant. She's been across the UK. Mm-hmm. She goes, if you ever come, you got to tell me because I will give you the best, locations that I really think have got something, not wasting your time. And I'm like, thank you.
That would be a fun trip. I got to be honest. Yeah, I would love doing something like that.
I love old church buildings, and the older the better. There's a number of cathedrals that I couldn't figure out why I was so drawn to them until about 5-6 years ago. I literally saw myself in a lifetime in front of what was the cathedral before it was destroyed by the king.
Oh, cool.
And I don't remember my name, but I remember that I was a noble person. Now, I've had lifetimes where I've been everything from the stablemate on up to taking care of royalty in different lifetimes, all the way to everything under the sun. I've been that, and many of them I remember. I don't remember all of them, but many of them I remember. And this one is just it's a mind bender to me because I can actually go from in my own head. I've only seen because this specific cathedral sits on a hill, on a slight inclined hill. Mm-hmm. And in the day when I was in that lifetime, I could take you down that inclined hill, and there were trees. It was a forested area, and I could take you down different dirt pathways and lead you right into the town. I can take you, and it drives me nuts because it's one of those things that I need to walk. I'm at a point in my life where, damn, I need to get my butt and I need to walk this property because and I know it's changed so significantly since back then, but just to be on the property and to walk the area, and to walk where the trees once were, because there are no trees. I did a search last year, midsummer last year, and there were no trees around it. And I was like, wait a minute. And I'm like, well, hello, look at how many long time ago that was. So, but yeah, it's fascinating to me because I can still feel on that property, I can still feel energy and different things. So it makes things fascinating to me as to what I'm going to find on that property. So,
see,
it's
no,
a huge role.
The thing that's always irritated me about people that talk about their past lives, and that's why I'm glad that you brought that up, is almost everybody that I've ever had talk about, like, living a past life has always been something super important in their past life. They were a king, or they were Cleopatra, or they were... You know what I'm talking about? They weren't just exactly an average person. And I'm like...
Kayla, I was a Ninja Turtle.
Right? But I'm like, there's no way that 15 of you could have been Cleopatra. That's not the way that works. Please stop it. You know?
And you're right. It absolutely does not work like that at all. And when I hear it, it drives me nuts too. So you're not alone in that. But yeah, I had 2 lifetimes as a Roman soldier. I hated it with a vehement passion. Don't get me wrong. The area was beautiful. It was very well done. I have no issues with that. I have issues with the hiking, the climbing, the ball-busting attitude, the mentality of the men towards, everybody, and how the soldiers were treated. And I hear, like our Keith Andrews talk about his time as a Roman soldier. He remembers more of it. I don't remember the fine details of those 2 lifetimes. I remember are the overall, and I remember my feet hurting exponentially, having cuts and bruises that you try to treat in the field, and you can't really because you're out in no man's land, basically. So and then there are times where I remember I did the mucking out of what we would call stables, which you wouldn't call a stable back then, but you had, I was going to say donkeys, that's not what I meant. You had horses, if you were lucky to have a horse. But it was mostly cows and chicken, if you were lucky to have chicken. But the cow was the most important in the farm life. And that, but not fun. Not fun. Not fun now, but damn sight better than back then. I mean, oh my God. And the amount of mud that you would walk through, it was disgusting. You were never clean. Never clean. It was rare to wash your hands. And I think about, you see movies where they're showing something where somebody's cutting meat, raw meat, and I want to barf. I mean, I'm just like, I can't, I've been there, done that, and they didn't have sanitation. They didn't have nothing. I mean, it's no wonder people got so sick so easily. But yet at the same time, they were pretty dang sturdy in the sense of, hello, you're eating with your filthy, dirty hands. You're boosting your immune system in a really nasty way with mud and dirt and all this other stuff. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm babbling on. But yeah, there are so many different avenues to take when it comes with spirits and when it comes to dealing with different pieces of land or buildings that are really, really old. There's a lot of buildings that I just avoid touching.
Yeah.
So, now
see, when you're bringing up, like, mucking out chicken stalls and, like, killing them and plucking them and boiling, like, all of this stuff, right? It just pulls me back to, like, my actual childhood. We had a crap ton of chickens, and we would go in there and have to, like, grab their eggs and all that crap. And then there were times where we had to butcher, like, a bunch of them, and we would boil them. And boiling chicken, what?
This is why people think you're an alien.
Why?
It brings you back to your actual childhood as opposed to the one you got in the Matrix.
Oh my god, for real. But, I mean, like, the smell of boiling chicken is one of those smells that you just... If you've never smelt it before, it's an automatic, like, okay, it is the grossest shit. Obviously,
Kayla.
Yeah. Yes, Cole, obviously.
Obviously.
It's really nasty, especially if you're not... especially if you're not doing it, you're just boiling to get the bone broth, you know. Mm-hmm. And mixing it with root vegetables would at least... alleviate some of that smell, but it's still, I know exactly what you're talking about because I went through that as a kid too. Mm-hmm. And then I really went through it. I learned the hard way when I was in the South Pacific because my uncle, that was what we'd have, not every night, but quite often we were there for over a month. Mm-hmm. He'd go out and get one of the chickens and wring its neck or hold it and slice the head right off. It's like, okay, I'm done. I don't ever want another chicken again. It took me a long time to be able to eat chicken after that.
I can tell you
because I wasn't raised on a farm. I had friends who had farms. I had friends whose parents were farmers, and so I wasn't around that part of it, so to speak.
I've been around the.
Well, yeah.
Well,
thank you.
I've worked in that too.
For like 4 hours.
Okay, that one was different, but I mean, I worked at like Andel's doing like that kind of crap for months too, and that's pig and cow.
Yeah.
You know Draper Valley Farms?
Shut up, Cole.
Yes.
Kayla got a job there in the processing plant, and her first day, she had the flu.
It was not my first day. It was like day number 2, but still.
Your first day on the actual job, not training.
Yeah.
She got the flu, and I can tell you, adding vegetables doesn't make it smell better. Because
shut up.
She puked into the boiling pot, and yeah. An entire trailer of chicken had to be tossed.
It was so bad. It was so bad. Okay, I automatically got fired. I gotta be honest, I did. But because they are also a organic farming company, they had to get FDA approved organic after they cleaned out all of the puke, because anything that came out of me wouldn't necessarily be considered organic.
But it is.
No, it isn't. Not if I didn't eat organic stuff.
But it's organically made through the human digestive system.
So, yeah, it caused a big issue for their plant to be shut down for like 5 days to get recertified and everything else.
Yeah, I can understand that. I had friends when I was in high school that they chose doing that over McDonald's.
I can tell you, I honestly think I got you guys beat a little bit on the smell thing.
Well, you grew up on it.
No, when I was a teenager, we had a really good year for hunting season. To the point where our freezers were so full, we had to... It was the dead of winter, and we put buckets of meat in the back of a 51 Buick. That had been, it's my grandparents' car, had been sitting there for years. And we thought, well, we will make it into sausage before winter's over. Dad forgot about it. 2 of the buckets flipped over, because the maggots were going so fast inside them when we found them in July. And it was about 90 to 95 degrees out.
Oh.
Dad walked by the car when I opened the trunk, and he puked. My brother walked by, he puked. My mom wouldn't come near it. So I sat there and scooped 2 5-gallon pail buckets out of this car into garbage bags with my hands, because we didn't have any gloves.
Oh.
And I did it with a smile on my face because that smell doesn't bother me. It never has.
Wow.
I've worked in Chinese food restaurants that smell way worse, and those smells don't get to me.
When I was a young teenager, I worked for the Department of Transportation. I was a litter picker-upper, and one of the worst things that we used to come across during the summertime was dogs and animals that were hit and were on the side of the road and decaying. And I'd have to say, that, and you combine that with the rats that you would find in the bottles or the cans on the side of the freeway. There are 3 things that those are one of the 3. I'm like, no, I'm done.
So I actually have one that you Washingtonians don't really know about, because you guys don't have recycling. Not
in the same way.
I was going to say, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I know they do in Everett.
Yeah, but like, you don't get paid for your cans.
Oh.
We used to back in the early 80s in Skagit Valley. Yeah, there used to be a recycling plant in Burlington, if I remember correctly, and a lot of people used to take their stuff to that recycling plant. And if I remember right, that recycling plant got turned into another facility, but I don't remember what right now.
So the one smell I can't handle is old, cheap beer.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like where there's just a little bit left in the bottom and it starts to mold.
Yeah.
That one I can't handle.
That usually brings in the mice and the rats, and then it'll bring in other insects. Mm-hmm. So start drowning in the it's really nasty.
I had a guy I worked with when I was building scaffolds back in the early 90s, and he's probably in his early 40s, but he lived a hard life, and his parents had, I guess, passed away, and they'd given him, their little farm or whatever it was. They had a barn on it, and so the guy, we knew he was a big time drinker. He would come in every morning just completely hungover, and of course, some of the guys hung out with him outside of work, and they started, they got to know him pretty well, and one of them actually went over to his parents' place, the farm, or it's a farm. And of course, there's a barn and it's shut completely off. It's a bigger size barn. And he asked the guy that's the heavy drinker. He said, "Hey, so what's in the barn?" He goes, "Oh, that's where I keep my recycling, my aluminum cans." And he's like, "Oh, well, why is everything just shut?" Because there was a lock on it. He says, "That's all you got in there." He said, "Yeah, that's all I've got in there. Here, I'll show you." They went, he took the lock off, and the whole barn was filled with bag upon bag, these 30-gallon bags of aluminum cans. He'd been saving. Every can he ever drank out of went into one of those plastic bags and went in there. He was waiting for the price per pound on aluminum to go up one more quarter. He apparently was doing it for the better part of 20-some-odd years. So I don't know why aluminum prices didn't go up or down, but he kept saying, if it goes up another quarter, I'm selling the whole barn. I don't even want to begin to think how nasty that must have smelled. And the guy said, because their cattle on the place, didn't notice it, but I guess if we'd walked in a little bit, we probably would have, what Cole's talking about, that nasty stale beer smell. Mm-hmm. And this is and I cannot deal with that. So I'm like, holy, so a barn, not a small barn, a medium to large size barn full of nothing but bag upon bag, 30-gallon bags of used beer cans.
Mm-hmm.
Washed out.
Well, you started talking about that stuff, and I started remembering, speaking of spirits, I started remembering something from a rather famous individual who I have talked about periodically, and I really don't want to bring him to me. But his property in Florida, I would love to do a walk on, because he showed me the bodies that he put on that property. And you're talking 1920s, 1930s, but and the property has changed hands a number of times.
How's Mr. Capone doing?
I don't know. I don't want to hear from him. I have a tendency. I have a tendency to avoid listening to him.
Right.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
He owned property in Florida? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he owned property in Florida. Matter of fact, he used to take, he told me that, and I would like this to be proven, somebody actually proving this to me so that I'm not just spouting it off. But I was told by him that he used to take certain individuals out himself with somebody else and what they used to do to them. And where they used to leave the bodies, and there were very specific individuals, which I don't remember right now.
Well, supposedly he has pretty much a death ground in the Everglades.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that he showed me that he really got off on, and murder was one of them. I mean, he really, and I know he's got granddaughters, because they went and sold some of this stuff in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
For quite a penny. But, and I don't want to disrespect them by talking about them, but yet at the same time, what you guys were talking about earlier reminded me of some of the smells, because of what he was showing me. He was actually not just visually showing me, he was also having me smell the smell of all that blood, of all the sharks feeding frenzy, the sound, the whole kit and caboodle. And I'm like, you SOB, I've got some choice effing words for you, because you're not going to do that deliberately to try to scare me. That doesn't work with me. You're just going to piss me off, and then we'll really have problems.
I imagine he would have been a person who liked that smell.
He really got, I learned just how twisted mentally somebody like that could be regarding doing people in, and it horrified me. Because I'm used to dealing with crime victims, okay? So you're dealing with victims of crime that have...
You're dealing with his victims, not with the person that did it.
Yeah, and now, and I've actually did have a serial come talk to me, or tried to, and I was like, you know what? You and I are going to have a little chat, and then you're going to leave, because I don't want you anywhere near me. I don't want you around me. Managed to get 2 first names off of victims, but I can't even clarify. I know his scent. I know a first name. I've never published, never verbalized any of this. I get little notes, but it's like, it's not enough to do anything with.
Right.
And I'm used to, like I said, I'm used to dealing with the crime victims. Some who just want, somebody to know what happened to them and that they are dead. And when an opportunity, basically what I get told is, when an opportunity arises, let my family know that I'm on the other side, that I love them. I know that I'm around my mom this time or that time. And I've got 2 women, one victim of a serial who's still out there, that I know is still out there. Intuitively, I still know he's out there. I can... speaking of which, somebody's in the process of trying to get my attention. Another victim. Well, this is going to get interesting. So anyway,
yeah, but see, I've always
I've never had a serial, and he to me is a serial. Capone is a serial. So,
well, kinda. I mean, he's a serial in somebody else's tradition, not his. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there are a lot of things that he did good on, such as feeding the homeless and doing stuff in that regard. But the other things, I'm like, oh, you and we're going to take issue with each other big time because he doesn't like me. But he likes me after we got to talking a bit. I'm like, why do you like me? Because you don't put up with bullshit. I hate these women that don't put up. And then he gets off on this high and mighty, hate women, that. I'm like, whatever, okay. So,
see, I've always been, like, super interested in... Well, I like knowing people's minds. I guess that's... right? And I've always been interested in what makes people tick, honestly.
Yep.
Like, it's just one of those weird things for me, where I'm like, I wonder what it was about this person in particular, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, they just, you get different... I keep going back to red brick. Somebody keeps trying to show me red brick. I have no idea what the hell that's about. Anyway, you guys are going to drive me nuts now.
Do we have anything left for Europe, though? Like,
do they have anything left for Europe?
Do you have any, like, more
there's a lot left in Europe. Like, they're still active, Kayla, you know?
Oh my god, not what I meant.
Total American attitude there. Everybody moved here, Europe's done. Fuck those people.
Oh my god! Shut up.
So, I've not in this lifetime been to Europe.
Okay. Has anybody been to Europe? Like, I haven't. Has anybody on the panel been to Europe? Have you ever been to Europe, Rick?
Does Europe, Saskatchewan count?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Neither has Paula, so yeah, we...
And I'm not sure Rosella has.
Put on if you went to Europe on Google Maps, does that count?
I know you haven't, John.
Well, I did on Google Maps, and that's all that I care about.
There is one that I found a haunting that I found interesting.
What? Cool.
I know Robert's been to the U.S., but I know that I don't believe he's gone to
Europe. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not sure about Rosella.
I found a haunting that I found interesting.
Oh, yeah?
Friend, Logleat House, Wiltshire. So,
Longleat?
Longleat.
Longleat.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not what I... Okay.
So, it is haunted by a spirit named Lady Louisa. She's been dubbed the Green Lady's Walk. She died after giving birth to her second child. She haunts a passageway where her past lover was killed. The way they know,
at the time?
She was married, yes. They found a man centuries later wearing leather jackboots in the cellar. Oops. Friend, you got caught. Friend, but...
yeah, he did.
Yeah. What do you do? Friend, but... I guess the way you hear or know that he's coming, or that she's going to be coming, is everyone that's about to see her, the song sticks in their head and they hum it.
Oh, interesting.
So, and it's just an old waltz tune. I've never heard of that, where they kind of implant a sound.
One of my lifetimes.
So hers was like an association of music.
Yeah, they hum a song that they don't know, and don't know where it came from, and then all of a sudden they will see her walking down the hallway.
Oh, that's kind of cool, but kind of creepy too, because she can get into your head.
Oh, they all can.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, just depends on how. Yeah, I know. Just
you get that
totally
like to it.
Yeah, and it's the ones that don't have it that aren't hearing spirits on a regular basis. Yeah, that'll freak you out real good.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Is if you're not like used to that, that would give you the like heebie-jeebies, because you'd be like, they're in my head. They're like, you know.
Hear the voices in my head.
There's one in Yorkshire, Nunnington Hall. The house was built in the 1500s by Queen Catherine Parr, Henry the Fifth's or Eighth's sixth wife. Oh no, the brother of hers.
Oh, cool.
The ghost story that clings to this atmospheric house dates to the life of Lady Nunnington, the second wife of the hall's owner. It seems that Lady Nunnington had her own son and resented the fact that her stepson by her husband's first wife would inherit the estate. When her husband died, she confined the boy to an attic room. The only person allowed to see him was her own son, who brought the boy food and played with him. The older child escaped his prison and was never seen again. Lady Nunnington's own son pined for his playmate. He waited by the window for him to return. Tragically, he leaned too far, fell from the window, and died. Lady Nunnington was distraught with grief and roamed the halls mourning for her son. When she died and the house was sold to new owners, they reported seeing her ghost numerous times and hearing the sound of her skirts rustling on the stairs.
Oh, that's kind of a sad story.
Most of them in England are.
Right?
Like, they have a lot of sadness in all of theirs.
Yeah.
Well, England has always been viewed as kind of a depressing place, but I think it's because it's just like with Washington, the weather and everything is kind of like it's a mood depressant. And I think that, weirdly enough, like, all of the places that have that kind of a rainy, moldy type, you know what I'm saying, seem to
mossy
be actually like sad, depressing, like deaths and ghosts. Like they aren't like happy ever.
I wonder if Jack the Ripper's victims haunt the areas where they died.
Oh, probably. I would assume they would.
Never heard anything about it.
Yeah, that's you'd think. Now they give the tours of where the women were killed, but they don't ever say anything about ghosts.
Yeah, I think that's more of a respect factor, though. Like, usually when somebody dies a very violent crime death, and especially seen as though they haven't figured out whoever did it, people don't typically talk about hauntings in those areas.
Jack the Ripper's second victim. In the days of the brewery, it was often noticed that a strange chill drifted through the boardroom at 6 a.m. on the anniversary of the murder, and it was also reported that Annie Chapman's ghost was sometimes seen standing by the wall of the storeroom that occupied the spot where she died.
Huh.
Wow.
You know, well, I'll be done.
I wonder who Jack the Ripper is. I think he might have been a...
Who Jack the Ripper is?
Yeah. I honestly think he was a royal. That's my theory, at least.
My theory is he was just a disturbed dude.
I think it was one of the royals that did it.
I can pretty much guarantee it wasn't a royal.
How?
Because they never do anything for themselves.
I really honestly don't think he was a doctor.
Or he was somebody that worked with knives. He had to know how to, I mean, they just said that the dissections were, pretty well handled. For an amateur, it would be almost, you'd expect more. Now, this is a forensics of the time, I'm guessing. So
yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying though. Is that if you think about doctors back then, and you think about, honestly, even doctors back then were a little more barbaric, let's say, than they are now. Okay. Yeah. Well, if you were somebody that really wanted to be, but maybe weren't able to be because of your classing or whatever, right? And it's something that you've always been interested in. You probably did a little bit of work with dead bodies or coroner's office or something of that nature. But people are self-taught to do all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And if a person were to pick up the books and look through them and everything else, well, maybe the next progression in that was the fact that they were like, I need to practice this.
I need to find a light.
You know, like, people are weird and they have weird abilities that people shouldn't have sometimes.
Yeah.
And I honestly have always kind of thought of Jack the Ripper as just an average person that wanted to experiment and did.
On living subjects.
On living subjects, yes, which is fucked up, but I mean, for the time period and everything, it wasn't any more fucked up than a lot of the stuff they did back then.
Well, the thing is, like, yes, they said his, like, cuts were surgical in nature. But you guys also got to realize at that point in time, the surgeon wasn't the only one who made those type of cuts.
A butcher.
No, so was a butcher.
A butcher, a taxidermist.
An avid hunter. Honestly.
Even a barber. Because I know back in those days,
the barber was also the dentistry and everything else. They would have to know certain things about human anatomy as well.
Yeah, so if you worked as a barber, a butcher...
The barber was down the street. There's a whole movie about him.
Yeah, it's called Sweeney Todd. Yeah. You should check it out.
I think I've seen that.
Why you shake your head?
Gotta be the
grossest movie. No.
What do you mean?
Actually, it's not the grossest movie. Yeah, have you ever seen a movie called Perfume?
I bet I can find a really gross one.
Okay.
I can find one like 10 times worse.
Just...
Yeah, but you also got to understand that even a fisherman, a filleter, would be able to make the same type of cuts. And that is... It's a huge fishing population there, too. So, with all of the stuff that is a possibility of being able to do that, it's not like being a doctor now where you'd have to have precision instruments and they could totally tell if you use the right kind of scalpel for the right thing in the... Okay, if they were killed like that now, you'd be like, it's probably most likely a doctor. But back then, I mean, it could be one of 20 professions that were doing the same type of cuts on people. And to be honest, why did nobody ever look at a coroner or a undertaker or any of these type of people?
A good question. Did they even have undertakers back then?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And they also still had public executioners, which would know exactly what spot on who to get. Like, this was the time period for this. I mean, there were 20, 30 professions that would know those cuts.
Yep.
And you would think...
I'm making notes. Never had
You would think that somebody with the ability to actually... and how they took it back then, they wouldn't give up all of that for that when they could easily do that to a person on the table and nobody would ask questions.
Yep. Because they were a doctor, they don't know what they were doing.
People died all the time on the tables back then. So, it doesn't make any sense for it to actually be a doctor. It makes more sense for it to be somebody who might have wanted to be and didn't have the social classing or the ability to be.
They were too poor. They were just a little poor boy in a poor family.
The psychic kit that I just got, and I've never had a psychic kit on Jack the Ripper ever. And he was one of the ones that it just fascinated me when I was a kid as to why and how.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years, young teen, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Older kid, young teen, during that time frame for me. The quote that I just received was, he was preparing for something bigger.
Mm-hmm. And
the question is, what was bigger?
Well, there's a lot of people that believed that Jack the Ripper was actually H.H. Holmes.
Right.
Oh, that name sounds familiar.
Chicago's killer.
Yeah, the fucking psycho that had the murder castle.
Yes. Oh, I read a book on that years ago. It was terrifying and fascinating because the World's Fair was going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So he had access to new people coming in, so he could just keep
murdering people in his giant murder dungeon house. It was like live action Saw, like, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay. And there are a lot of historians and a lot of people who have speculated that H.H. Holmes and Jack the Ripper were the same person.
I wonder what a modern Jack the Ripper would look like.
Probably an average dude.
No, like how the scene...
Why is it gotta be a guy? That's sexist.
Yeah.
Well, to be perfectly honest,
Mom.
I mean, most of the serial killers are male.
Wow, way to be genderish.
I am, because statistically speaking, that is true.
You gotta use the right pronouns, Mom. It's they, them.
Oh, God.
Not him.
Actually, Jack the Ripper was considered very heavily to be female.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a possibility.
The name Jack isn't due to it being a male, it's due to him being, or the murderer being, a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, I've met some psycho-ass women that would fit that bill. So, let's be honest.
But still, you gotta...
So there are actually ghost stories connected to each of the five, I can't say that word. All the 5 victims and him.
Mm-hmm.
They each haunt their place of murder. The one, when he did the famous double murder, the first one, Elizabeth Stride.
Mm-hmm.
For the next, 9 months after she was murdered, her screams could be heard in the street each night.
Oh, that would suck. You're just stuck in a perpetual... Oh, God, poor her.
There was a man, and actually, this is funny, John. One of the suspects was George Chapman.
Ooh.
Whose real name was Severin Klosowski. He worked as a barber in the cellar of the White Hart pub in the 1890s and became famous for poisoning 3 of his wives. Some believe that he might have been the Ripper.
Interesting.
They found another victim, Martha Trambam. She's not considered a Ripper victim, but some believe her to be murdered by the same man as the canonical 5. That's canonical.
Mm-hmm.
But his ghost is seen at the bottom or in the basement of the White Hart pub. There's the final spot that they find him is actually not in the East End. It's a couple miles west and on Westminster Bridge. On New Year's Eve, a figure is said to emerge from the shadows and throw itself into the Thames.
Interesting.
Legend says that Jack the Ripper killed himself there on New Year's Eve of 1888 by plunging into the river and was therefore never caught. There's a true story behind that. Ripper suspect Montague John Druitt drowned in the Thames. Montague John Druitt was first mentioned as a likely suspect for the Whitechapel murders in 1894 by Chief Constable Melvin McCotton, who wrote in his memorandum that Druitt was said to be a doctor of a good family who disappeared at the time of the Miller's Court murder and whose body was found in the Thames on 31st December or about 7 weeks after that murder. He was sexually insane and from private information I have from little doubt of that his own family believed him to have been the murderer.
Interesting.
Neato.
But like, their version back then of sexually insane, and I mean, no, but wouldn't that be like every other OnlyFans now? Like,
I don't think Jack the Ripper had an OnlyFans, Kayla.
Well, he had.
That would be cool, though.
What the fuck?
Not like, but not like that, but.
Okay,
just,
on this show we do not kink shame, but fuck you.
No! I don't mean like in a sexual way or anything like that. It just like how he dissected the person and
well, and that's what I'm saying is there's a lot of people that look at anatomy very differently, and that's why we have so many weird ass killings and weird ass doctors and like all kinds of weird ass experiments that happen to people because they are so weirdly interested in the human body and why it ticks the way that it ticks.
Yeah.
That they do some crazy shit to figure it out.
Because it's like, it's so cool to figure out how like the muscles work with the bones in order to do things.
Right. And that's why a lot of people that don't become like physicians or doctors or surgeons or anything like that, but that have that weird mentality about them, end up going into professions like
butchering.
Either being a butcher or being a
because I've heard a few stories of people trying to become doctors, but they couldn't become doctors because they couldn't pass the mental test.
Yeah, or they couldn't become doctors because their hand shook a little too much, or because there's all kinds of things that keep you from actually being able to perform surgery on an actual human.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that the weird thought processes aren't still there for those people.
Yeah, it's still there, just it lingers back in the mind. It's like you don't know, but it's always there, just sitting there, waiting for you to do something or see an animal, and then it just pops back out.
Well, and see, that's the thing, is that everybody looks at these as traits of like a serial killer or something of that nature, but they aren't always. There's sometimes...
Yeah.
They're the same traits that people that become really, like, scientists and all kinds of different things also have. It's not necessarily a terrible trait all the time, and sometimes it can lead to some massive discoveries in certain fields and stuff.
Like, it can be very useful, like, when you're in biology class or when you're out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you looking at me weird, Dad?
No, I get what you're saying, John Ronald.
Yes.
But please don't kill people, because then, I'm going to have to be like, there were signs, but, I thought he was just a good boy. It's not okay.
Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy,
but
John Ronald Wegleitner.
Oh my god, that's not...
He has a serial killer name.
I do.
Like...
I honestly do have a serial killer name. Would be...
No, you don't.
I could become famous.
You're right, not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Oh my god, John.
I just gotta
somebody slap them.
I just gotta change a few things around, and then I gotta become seriously skinny.
Dude, why?
Never mind, he'll never be a serial killer.
You don't have to be skinny to be a murderer, dude.
And I could if like I go on hard cocaine, I could become skinny.
Gacy was like 300 pounds, dude.
Oh yeah, that is true. I still have a chance.
Oh my god! Shut up.
Oh my god.
Well, I did want to become a butcher for a minute, and I was like really into that. So
yeah. I'm gonna be on a fucking Dateline episode. Okay, I hate this.
No, you're not.
No. The Keith Morrison's, come to talk to us. And
you just gotta hope that I don't
all about it.
not
So
that I just don't get in. Just gotta hope I get accepted into college, or I'm just gonna go down the same path as.
you're going into law enforcement, which means
Yeah.
you'll have a better.
So I'll either join them or go against them.
Oh my God! Shut up, John.
What? It's what they get for not accepting me.
Okay, you know who else had that attitude? Hitler, when he flunked out of art school. So let's not go down that route.
Well, you always
been done before.
Why can't I compare myself to him when you always do it? It's unfair.
You made him look like Hitler for a while.
Yes, you made me into a little Hitler.
Hey, it's the only haircut I knew how to do.
Yes, and then you offered me a butchering job, and
I have no proof that little Hitler was a bad person.
Oh God.
Hitler was a bad person.
Yeah, but he was a good artist. He was a good artist.
But
he was actually. He was actually
a artist.
I do like his art, though.
He wasn't a terrible artist, but
There's
he
an
wasn't.
individual who is very similar to a Hitler who is out now, and who I keep saying, watch. I'm not going to say his name because that could get me into some serious legal issues.
Gotcha.
However, if you start seeing my Facebook page post, pay attention, and it's about a specific individual, you'll notice certain things. With some of the similar posts that I do that are made public.
Yeah.
They're not just on the friends list for the friends list in Facebook. They're made public. Mm-hmm. And I do that because periodically I get a psychic vision of what this individual
has the ability to do.
Has the ability to do, has done, and has had problems with various people, specifically in the last 5 years. But has had problems with people for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. You're talking wealth beyond extreme.
Yeah.
Born into it type of situation. So, yeah, it's the things that I have seen. There are times when I get certain information that I literally put in a code word, a verbal code word, and I state it out loud, and it's a code word that typically government is the only time I'll go, okay, you guys need to frickin' pay attention. You need to record what I'm saying right now, and you need to watch out for this individual because this individual is going to do ... And sure as shit, usually within a year, all of those things have taken place.
Interesting.
So I get really angry at this individual because of the shit that they are trying to pull. And it's not just on the U.S., it's on other countries that they're doing this with. And it's like, now this guy is worse than a Hitler. And I don't want to have, no. I've never seen anything like this. And he needs to be stopped.
There's a lot of them out there, though.
Yeah, there are, but this guy has got the money and the power behind him.
Yeah, but I mean, if you truly
pearl or blood,
if you truly think about it, you don't have to have the money or the power behind you. I mean, Hitler himself didn't have the money or the power. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, but this guy does, and that's what makes him more dangerous.
Okay, Nikki.
Yeah, dear.
Okay, is his name Bob Villa?
No.
Bob Ross.
Oh my God, Bob Ross.
I love Bob Ross. William Alexander came before Bob Ross. Leave those two alone. Seriously.
You know, there was this thing going around about Bob Ross being a serial killer.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
Well, because, his paintings, I don't know, something about his paintings, and the amount of bodies that they found at locations that looked like his paintings, and...
Yeah. Oh, God.
I was like, okay.
Actually, there's a whole, like, thing where all of his paintings, like, zoom into a small cabin.
Yeah.
And they were saying that that's where he hid all his bodies.
Yeah, it's some weird shit, but it was going around for the longest time.
Yeah.
About Bob Ross being a serial killer and painting the areas that he killed people.
Yeah.
So,
No.
right? That's why I was like, oh my god, they'll say anything about anybody.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
It's to get likes, to get clicks, it's...
Right?
What would be really...
You're like, Bob Ross was a what? Let me check this out.
Yeah.
Like,
what would be real scary is if Bob Ross was on that list.
It's interesting when you are able to talk to the spirits.
yeah.
And the smells. Oh my god. I mean, if you're smelling how they died, I'm so sorry. I'm very, very thankful that I'm not one of those psychics that when a spirit comes to them, they're seeing how the person died. Oh, there's a hole in the person's head. And there's no brain at the back end of it. I'm very thankful I'm not seeing that.
Right.
But I know people that do. And I'm like, okay, that's where my body draws the line. I'm like, no thank you. I saw a lot of shit when I was growing up, but I'm very thankful that I never saw any of that.
Right.
I mean, okay, this is going to sound really bad, but I would rather see ETs than see
Dead people.
How they died.
Well, I mean, nobody wants to see how somebody died. Like, that's just, you know.
That's not something you want to see.
Give me their last memories.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So, I mean, I am here to tell you, how do you talk to a counselor about that, because you're a basket case for 2 or 3 days, and if it's really bad, it'll take me a week, maybe 2 weeks to kind of like, okay, we need to get into a different phase, we need to get rid of that smell,
right?
We need to work on visualization in different ways, different
well
manners.
See, and unfortunately counselors, there's a lot of them that are still of the understanding that when you say something like that, they go, oh, this person is batshit, and
yeah, they're crazy, and you're not, and it's because you're dealing with
something that they don't understand, so they can't really counsel you on something they don't get themselves.
But yet it's affecting you psychologically. I mean, there have been times where, like that one guy who was taken out by a serial killer, I only have his first name, but he showed me what exactly was done to him, and I sat and cried. Because there's no, he goes, thank you, you at least, and I'm like, thank you? I'm like, why are you thanking me? You just implanted something that is in my head that will forever be, he goes, but nobody knows how this guy is killing.
Yeah.
And he goes, I was in the middle of this guy's spree. And it's something I will never forget. And the girl, the very first girl that came to me, I didn't recognize as a victim. I thought things that were happening to her right then and there. And she apologized to me days later, because when I had said that on air on a different show, this was 5-6 years ago, I was freaking out. I was like, who the hell do I need to call? That she's literally being abducted. She's this, it's that. And come to find out, this is what had happened to her before they found her body in a specific location. And her case is still unsolved. And I'm still called batshit crazy by authorities. And I'm like, well, F you. I'm not batshit crazy. I know how she died. She showed me how she died. And so it makes it difficult, because you've got these abilities, and it's fine.
But how the hell are you supposed to use them if nobody listens to... Yeah.
Exactly. And so the other side, basically what they've done is like, well, okay, we're going to keep sending crime victims to you, but you're basically counseling them. And I'm like, No.
You're like,
that's
thanks.
What the other side is.
Thanks for that.
That's what the other side is for. That's what the healing is supposed to be about. Well, these guys are basically earthbound. And I'm like, not all of them are earth. I will get into a knockdown, drag out, legalized discussion with the other side and the folks on the other side because I get really pissed sometimes. Because you're being shown information and you know it's valid information because you've got validation for different pieces of it. So you know that a huge chunk of what you're being told is accurate. But until you talk to a family, or until you get clarification, it makes things interesting as a psychic, as a medium. I mean, I know that Rosella she and I deal with things differently, but yet in many ways we're very similar. And that is what a lot of psychic mediums are like. We're all very similar in many different aspects, but there are also really big differences. So what you see and feel, so somebody else could walk through a public door, and not experience anything, whereas somebody like me, if I touch metal on a door, it's finally calmed down in doing it, but for years I used to avoid touching skin on metal or skin on glass because I would see somebody else's life and I'm like, I don't want to, and they're alive and living, and I'm like, it's none of my business. What the hell? Right. I don't need to see that shit. Yeah. So, now I don't have that as much on public doors as like into somebody's home or unless something's going to happen to them, then I'm like, we need to have a conversation. Please keep an eye out for this, and this. And, oh, well, that didn't happen. I'm like, yeah, did you have this sign, and this sign? Well, no. And then they get to talking, and they're like, oh, yeah, actually, we did. But they're not recognizing signs. And I'm like, yeah, see, that's the thing. A lot of people are they don't pay attention. Even ghost hunters, quote-unquote ghost hunters, don't always, they think they're aware, but there are also a lot of nuances in signs that a lot of times get missed. Yeah. And I find that kind of frustrating with a lot of the shows, because a lot of the shows, they're for entertainment purposes only. Right. And I'm babbling. Anyway.
But now that we're reaching the end of the show, what are we going to be talking about next week?
Next week we are talking about American colonial and Civil War hauntings.
Ooh, I'm learning about that in school.
Because our friend Rosella is at Gettysburg right now. Being haunted.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
What did you say? American what?
Colonial and
Civil War
hauntings.
I can talk about the Pig War. The most bloody war fought on U.S. soil. Yeah. I wrote a 3-page summary for that, so I know a bit.
Nice.
Have you seen the oversimplified video of it?
Oh yeah. Then I've seen the 10-hour-long video of it.
The oversimplified.
Me and Kayla actually went and saw that new Civil War movie.
Oh really?
Yeah.
How was it?
Probably not something that should have been made at this point in time.
Frighteningly accurate.
Ooh.
Except for the part with Texas, California joining forces.
Okay, yeah, that part.
That's not going to happen. No. But other than that, I mean.
Yeah.
But that would be cool. They are like the two strongest states. So if they did join,
not really, honey.
I feel like they could have a good.
Most of California moved to Texas right now, so it's not that impossible. So.
Yeah. But their views are a little too different, I think, for that to work properly.
There's too many vegans in California for Texas to join with
my god.
Yeah.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to let you go. Thank you very much for listening to us tonight. We will see you next week, 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, on Wednesday, and with American colonial and Civil War hauntings and ghost stories.
Yep.
So thank you very much again. Thank you, panel. You guys rock.
I know.
Friend, not you.
Wow. Wow. Hey, I did them.
When?
Today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. Everybody say bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you next week.
Hey.
Data transfer complete. System malfunction. Please evacuate immediately. Program terminated.
Son of a biscuit eater.